What's going on, everybody? Captain Gonzo with that Flight Sim channel here for yet again another tutorial. Today we are once again departing out of a Signature Flight Support, or Signature Aviation as it is known now, location, and heading up to yet another Signature place. Tonight, of course, we are, check it out guys, Citation Excel just spawned and it is floating above the ramp. UFO sightings confirmed. This is it, guys. The great happening is happening. Anyways, guys, this of course is on the Pilatus PC-12 NGX. I know that this is one of the more common aircraft that people choose for their careers, and judging on the views that we got on the release of the PC-24 video, I'm gonna say that people are also looking forward to this one. I have myself always been a fan of the Pilatus family, especially the PC-12, which is one of the more common and more reliable single-engine turboprop aircraft in the market of general aviation. But anyways, guys, enough of the chatter. You all know, we all know why we're here. So let's go ahead and call up that EFE, and let's go ahead and go with the checklist. And before I continue with this, I just want to make clear, once we finish the pre-flight inspection, we're not going to focus on the checklist here on the EFB. We're going to hop on board, and I'm going to show you guys how to do it like a pro. Even though these videos are considered basic, I want you guys to start getting used to exploring the aircraft features and really putting them to use, okay? So let's just focus on the EFB now, and we're going to start with the chocks. Let's go ahead and remove. External power as required. So fun fact, because I used to work on these planes on the ramp, the GPU connection is found right underneath here, hidden away. Right there. There's the GPU, and you can see that it's pretty awesome that it's modeled. Didn't even know that. That's where you plug up the GPU. So that was pretty awesome working the ramp, having to plug those up. All right, rudder, we're going to do a visual inspection. The rudder looks a-okay to me. Elevator, visual inspection as well. Static wicks are on. Looks like the elevator is just fine. Right flap, let's go ahead and run over. Now, as you can see, I've got my tool tips disabled. I don't typically fly with them, and I know that for the tutorial series, it could be helpful, but I think for these, you guys don't need to know where they're at. I mean, it's the flap, right? It's pretty obvious to see where it's at, and if you're ever confused between a flap and an aileron, you can just press the eyeball, and it's gonna take you to it. You'll see it's highlighting it. Okay, let's go to the right aileron, which is on the outboard here, and we're gonna shake it. That's a good movement on the right aileron. And let's go ahead and remove that pitot cover on this side. There we go. Fuel cap secure. So the fuel caps are found over the wing here. Let's see if I can find it. Here it is. And you can see you can remove it. Take a gander if you want to. Put her back in place. Right tire. The tire must be properly inflated and element must be in good condition. So again, I have the tooltips disabled, so we're not going to see much coming on, but you guys can enable them on your end. And while we're walking here, we're going to check the de-ice boot here. I believe that's a little AOA, or angle of attack vane, right? So we're going to walk and check out the de-ice boot, make sure it looks good. No bubbles, no delamination. Everything is looking good. As we're working our way to the front, engine covers. We're going to remove the exhaust covers here out of the infamous PT6. Very common platform found in a lot of turboprop aircraft. Nose gear tire, check. Once again, I don't see any leaks. I don't hear any squeaks. Nothing looks out of the ordinary. Everything looks great. Engine, we're going to check the engine bay. So we're going to come here on the port side, or left side, and we're going to open up the engine cover. And as you can see, everything looks like it's in tip-top shape. This is a relatively new plane, and I've only put a few hours on it, so I'd say that's a good engine. Let's go ahead and secure that hatch. Left tire. Gonna work your way here. Tire looks good. No leaks, nothing around the area. We're gonna do the same thing we did on the right side over here. We're gonna walk and follow along, looking at the de-ice boot. Very, very important, as this could save your life in iced conditions. And for those of you that don't know, the way the de-ice boots work is whenever you're in ice conditions, you hit a few switches on the cockpit, and these de-ice boots actually inflate, right? And so once they inflate, the idea is to break up the ice, and then the ice should start falling apart, because ice on the leading edge of the wings and your horizontal and vertical stabilizers affects airflow. Okay, let's check the left tire. We did. Left aileron, let's shake it. Look at the color reflecting off the hangers. That's funny. All right, left aileron is good. And last thing, we're gonna check the left flap. Left flap is secured. And then we're gonna do one final walkthrough. So let me close up the EFB because we will no longer be using it. And please, Asobo, model the cargo door. This is what sets Pilatus aircraft apart, and you guys are not letting us open it. So please, for the love of God, model it. But anyways, guys, just doing a final walk around. So yeah, guys, going back to the icing conditions, right? It's very important for you to understand what happens. So when ice forms in those leading edges, right here on the horizontal stabilizers, on the empennage on certain aircraft, obviously the prop blades and the leading edge of the wings, it's going to affect your stall speed, right? So what happens is you have, it affects your lift. Remember, lift is the magic that causes the airplane to fly, along with thrust, right? The thrust is producing the power to push that aircraft forward, defeating gravity, and then lift is what keeps you flying. So having ice on the wings is not a good thing, which is why these de-ice boots are so important. And when you have ice conditions on your wings, especially on the leading edges, your stall speeds actually go up. That's a bad day, right? You want to actually stay as far away from your stall speed as possible. So if you have a higher stall speed, even with a clean configuration, you're going to have a lot tighter margin of error. So anyways, guys, this is a quick lesson of why the de-ice boots are important. Let's go ahead and cut the chatter and jump right in. Beautiful. So here we are inside the cockpit of the PC-12. And as you can see, very, very similar to the layout on the Pilatus PC-24. Now, before we get started, let me just make a side note. I will be developing a Honeywell Ace tutorial, and I'm going to be using the PC-12 because I feel like the autopilot is a lot more sophisticated and implemented here on the PC-12 as opposed to the PC-24. So anyways, guys, what we can do is, because we can't access the onboard checklist because the aircraft is powered off, let's just go ahead and pull up the EFB for the before starting engine, and then we're going to use it to reference on how to get the power going. So the first thing we're going to do is set the avionics master switch to on. And as you can see, it is highlighting your two avionic bus switches. So we're going to go ahead and turn those on. Parking brake, it was on the left side there. You can see that it is set, it is pulled. Standby power, back to the overhead. Go ahead and get that on. You can hear it beeping. And then we're going to do the EPS test, right? We're going to go ahead and flick it down. You can see the green light. Let me do it again. Okay. So we're going to keep the EPS on armed. The battery switches are going to come on. Landing gear 3 green. Make sure that they are down, confirmed. And then the fuel quantity check. We should have about 1,100 pounds. We're at 1074. That's about good. Let me do a fuel reset because I thought we had 1,100. It's all right. 30 something pounds out. It's not too bad. Okay, guys, so we're going to leave the checklist from the EFB right here. And we're going to stop because we're going to be transitioning over to the built-in checklist here on the Honeywell Ace. All right, guys, so here we are back in the cockpit, right? And we're going to pick up on that checklist. So remember, the Honeywell Ace is a touchscreen suite of avionics, which is very similar to the G3000, G5000. However, as you can see, the user interface, or the graphic user interface, GUI, GUI, whatever you want to call it, is quite different. All right, it seems a little intimidating at first. It's taken me a few hours of messing around to really understand it, but I think I'm finally getting it, okay? So let's just go ahead and recall to that checklist. So we're gonna go to the general menu, we're gonna click normal, and right there, before engine start checklist, so we've already set the avionics master switch, parking brake has been set, standby power is on, EPS has been tested, EPS is on, battery switches are on, landing gear 3 green, and the fuel quantity has been checked. And as you can see, once you click that last item, it'll prompt you to do the checklist complete, which will transition to the next checklist. And as you can see, this is pretty much a copy and paste over to the EFB. However, I feel like this is more of an immersive way to do this checklist, and it's going to really make you feel all that much better as a virtual pilot. So we're going to hit checklist complete. We're going to switch over to the starting engine. So nav lights. So we're going to have to come back up to the overhead panel. Here's your external lighting. We're going to turn our nav light on. Beacon light coming on, as we call it, the bacon. CAS checked. So we've got some annunciators here, or alerts. Battery 1, battery 1 plus 2, battery 2, engine, NP, and generator 1 is off. Obviously the engine is off, so we're going to have these go away here shortly. Engine master is going to come on, so I will show you. So you've got your engine here, right? Your control. So you want to go to run. I'm going to leave it there. And the oil pressure right now is showing low. And the generator has to come on. There's generators. 1 and 2 are on. Now, this is interesting. It didn't have me do the actual start procedure, so I'm going to walk you through that myself. Good to know. Thanks, Microsoft or Asobo. So, coming back to the overhead, we've got the engine master on run, right? And what I'm going to do is go ahead and set my fuel pumps on the left and right hand side. And before we actually go ahead and do that, let's do a fire warning test. Okay, let's do the lamps test. It's going to illuminate all the lamps on the cockpit. Make sure they're all properly lighting up. That's a good lamps test. And the stick pusher, I don't think it is implemented, but what the stick pusher does, guys, is in a stall configuration or stall situation, the stick will literally push itself forward, right? So the aircraft is preventing itself from entering a stall, and it will literally yank the yoke forward for you. So that's what it's testing, but it is not implemented, or at least I'm not doing it correctly. So anyways, coming back to the engine start, we've set this to run. We're going to set the ignition. And now we're just going to click the starter. Let's come back to our PFD and let's monitor our engine. You can see NG is rising, oil temperature and pressure climbing. And now we wait for the PT6 to come to life. There goes those blades. And you can see the green starter and ignition illuminations here on the display. So we're going to wait till NG is in the green, and we're going to set that ignition back to auto. There we go. NG is stabilizing. Let's go back to auto. We're going to set fuel pumps back to auto. And that's it, guys. That's all it takes to fire up the PC-12. There's nothing crazy to it, nothing sophisticated. Seems a little intimidating when you see all these line select keys on the PFDs, your MFDs and all that, and you've got all switches and stuff like that, but trust me, there's a lot more complicated aircraft out there. Anyways, the engine is up. Let's go ahead and set our no smoking signs on and our seatbelt signs on, and then we're gonna go ahead and get ready to taxi out of here. Okay, so you've got yourself to the point where you start at the PC-12, that PT6 is growling out front, and you are ready to taxi. So let's go ahead and make sure that we're ready and setting up the aircraft. I want you guys to take a look at something really quick right here. Look at the trim indicators here on the lower MFD. You can see that trim is just slightly nose right. Now this is pretty common on a lot of turboprop aircraft, right? And the reason that's happening is because these engines are so powerful and they're producing so much torque, and they're rotating in one certain direction, right? They're spinning, that the aircraft is going to want to yaw a certain direction, right? That's why you always hear the term right rudder, especially in the single engine aircraft, because the engine is spinning one way, so then the aircraft naturally tends to steer the other way. So here you can see that the trim is already set for you in the green, so it's slightly off center to the right. The aileron trim and pitch trim are set, so you are in the green. But just something cool to pay attention to there as you look. So you might see that and think, oh crap, my rudder trim is off. That is actually the correct config for takeoff to compensate for that torque. So anyways, let's go ahead and go to the before takeoff checklist. Flaps set for takeoff. You're going to find your flap lever right here to the right side of the throttle quadrant. So let's go ahead and go flaps 15. Flight controls will be free and clear and correct. So, good elevators, good ailerons, left and right. Rudders feel good. Those are good flight controls. Now we're going to come down and look at our inertial separator. Let's go ahead, and it's right here just behind the yoke, and you're going to want to hang on and turn that on while you're on the ground. Landing light will come on, strobe will come on when we're ready for the actual takeoff. In the meantime, we'll focus on the taxi light only. So taxi light on. Now guys, as soon as you release that parking brake, get ready, because even at idle power, the PT6 on this PC-12 is very, very powerful, okay? So it's going to want to start picking up some speed on you. So get ready to get on the brakes. Look at that. That's just idling right now. So I got to get on the brakes. Let's go ahead and start turning. We're going to do a 180 because we got to taxi out of the ramp here and go towards runway 5 for our departure. And we'll be down at runway 5, holding short just momentarily, so we'll see you guys there. Alright, so you've made it down to the runway, you're holding short, and you're getting ready for takeoff. So if you've made it this far, I think you're doing pretty good, man. So hang in there, follow along, we're going to learn this together. Remember, I am no expert. Captain Flako and I are just simmers just like you guys, trying to learn and have fun and teach you guys a thing or two. So guys, let's refer back to our before takeoff checklist that we should have still here. So all it's asking for is to get our landing lights and strobe lights on, and it says it's ready for takeoff. So we're going to hit checklist complete, and then we're going to go ahead and pull up the after takeoff checklist. So now that we're getting ready for departure, let's go ahead and set our wing light on. Let's go ahead and get our landing light on, strobe on, and let's get the pulse and recognition lights on, which is a pretty cool feature on these airplanes. You can see on the exterior here. Let me circle around. You can see those recognition lights pulsating, which is pretty cool. Really sets it apart. It just tells people around you, hey, look at me, I've got money. Alright guys, so we're going to go ahead and get on the runway 5 here. We're going to depart. You guys know how we do it here. Just join the traffic pattern and do a quick approach back into Boca Raton, which is how you say it. Rat mouth. Interesting name. Alright, so we're going to get on the brakes here. Flaps have been set. Flight controls are good. Now, we're going to go ahead and start adding power here, right? And you're going to want to keep an eye out on your torque PSI here. Your ITT and your NG, right? These are your main indicators here for your engine, right? So, I know it's tempting, right? You want to go full power, mash that throttle full into takeoff. What I like to do is slowly creep up that throttle. And I like to monitor my torque and make sure that I am not exceeding the torque as we begin our rolling. Alright, so here we go. Power's coming on nice and easy. And there we go. Power is set for takeoff. I'm going to hold it right there at 38.9 psi. Airspeed is picking up rather quickly. 85 knots, and we're picking up the nose, and she is flying, guys. Gear coming up. Now it is a bit windy, as you can see right down there on the PFD. We've got a crosswind factor of 7 to 8 knots and a headwind of 9 knots, so winds are significantly pushing us a little bit. So we're going to go ahead and clean the flaps up. We've got a good positive rate of climb. We're going to continue on the straight outbound departure. And then we'll pick back up here in just a minute as we descend and come back around for the downwind to the approach. And there we go. Look at that engine ITT, letting me know I'm running a little bit hot. Let's go ahead and reduce that throttle. And just like that, look, we're still climbing, still maintaining good airspeed. Everything is in the green. She's happy. Welcome back, guys. We are here on a left downwind for runway 5 in Boca Raton, southeast Florida. It's practically Miami, all right? For those of you guys that don't know the area, we just call it Miami. Everything's Miami down here. Anyways, guys, so we skipped over the after takeoff checklist. I don't think it was too important, honestly, for the purpose of this basic tutorial. However, we will cover it on the next video, which will be a full flight from here to Orlando, and I will show you guys. So before landing checklist, inertial separator. Once again, behind the yoke here, we left it on because we're relatively low, and I knew I was going to need it. Landing gear is going to be looking for 3 down, or 3 green and down. So we're going to just wait a second here while we establish ourselves on this nice downwind and make our way to the left base. Let's go ahead and start making that left base turn now. And let's go gear down. I see the numbers there, so we're going to cut it a little bit tight here. We're within like 2 miles. Landing gear down, 3 green. Taxi and landing lights, they are all on. And flaps have to be in the landing config, so we're going to start dropping flaps here. You can hear the flaps coming down, and you can see how high we are. And look how quickly this plane ballooned up. So the cool thing about these turboprop aircraft, like the PC-12, is you can really slow her down for your final approach. I think VRIF on these things is like 75 knots, 80 knots. I think you can bring them in. And I've seen them land in real life, guys. They literally float out of the sky. So it's kind of like watching a Cessna 172 come in. It's pretty amazing. So here we are. Look at that. We're doing 93 knots indicated. And we're going to keep slowing down. There's our Pappy, getting into a better glide path here. And then the last item before landing is your autopilot yaw damper disconnect. So yaw damper is disconnected, autopilot is disconnected up here on your mode control panel. I'd say that that's good. And now we just do our best to put her down as we cross over Interstate 95 here. And look at this, guys. I'm doing 87 knots and I'm still flying. Look at that airspeed tape. I can bring it down to 65 knots if I wanted to and really hold it there, flirting with that stall speed, but not advisable. So we're going to just do, let's try to go for 80 here as we stabilize ourselves with these winds. And we're just eloquently falling out of the sky. Look at this. There's 80 knots. Let's speed off that airspeed. Power to idle. And just like that, guys, we touched down. And the PT-6 does have a reverse, so you can hit the reverse and this thing is going to really slow down on you. Here we go. There we go. We hit the reverse thrust and we are literally going backwards now. So if you mix the taxiway, this is how you do it in style, but I don't think ATC is going to be too happy with you, so just be ready for a quick scolding there. Now getting back on the power, trying to go forward. This is awesome. There you go, having a little fun as you're learning as well. So we're going to vacate the runway here to the left. This is Bravo 5. And then we will go back to the ramp, and I will walk you guys through the shutdown. Let's go ahead and start cleaning the flaps up. And we no longer need landing lights and the pulsing recognition lights. Strobe lights can come off. Wing lights can come off. We'll leave the nav and beacon lights on. Okay, so the ramp is looking decent. It's not too many things there in the way. There is a super cool stealth pinkish King Air that is somewhat invisible, so they almost had it. Almost had it. That's a cool Beech 18 there. Lovely, lovely little twin. And then we're just going to cause mayhem here and just run over people. Whoops, didn't see you guys there, sorry. Get some workers' comp. Get some Motrin and a change of socks and you guys will be all good. And I'm trying to park here with these cones. There we are. Okay, guys, so now we are ready for the shutdown checklist. So checklist complete. Let's go to shutdown. First item on the menu, parking brake. Pulled and set here on the left-hand side. Flaps, verify that they are up. Confirmed by the indicator at the 0 degrees. External lights, let's go ahead and turn them all off. DI system, all off. So DI system is going to be found right here again, once again, behind the yoke, next to the landing gear lever. As you can see, you've got your probe heat, your left hand and right hand windshield ice protection. You've got your inertial separator, your propeller heat, and your boots. And you can turn them on for 3 minutes or 1 minute. So we're going to make sure that they are all off. There we go. This thing was cycling. Engine master is going to be turned off. So again, let's take a look up top. And our engine master is right here. We're going to switch that to off. Fuel pressure low. You can look at your PFD and see your indicators decreasing there. Generator has to come off. Battery switches to off. What happened there? And lastly, the EPS has to be off. EPS has been turned off, and that does it for your shutdown checklist. Just at the bottom there, checklist complete. And as you can see, the only one that's missing is the after takeoff because we didn't do it. And that about does it, guys. That's how you shut down. Obviously, if you want to completely go cold and dark, make sure you turn off your no smoking and seatbelt signs off. Make sure you've got your battery switches off and your standby bus and avionic buses off as well. We're going to do that now. And now, as you can see, we've got a true cold and dark cockpit. So that does it, guys. This is how we conclude the basic tutorial behind the Pilatus PC-12 and GX. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Hope you guys learned a thing or two. Stay tuned because, again, we're going to do the same video, but we're going to go in depth and program the FMS and show you how to put in a full route as we make our way up to Orlando International from Boca Raton here in Southeast Florida. Anyways, guys, this is Captain Gonzo with that Flight Sim channel checking out for this video. Thank you guys for watching and see you on the next one very soon.